Hi and welcome to a fun card making session where I will be sharing 4 cards today. I'm starting with a stenciled card and this is the Today is a Good Day new dies and stencils by Altenew. I will be combining both the stencil and the dies to create a card, and there are numerous combinations of colors that you can use. So this is what you get when you use the dies. You get the three dies actually, the letters and 2 outlines for the letters. So I started with the inside outline. I'm going to place it on my stamp wheel so that I can easily do the stenciling since the stencil is sticking on top. And I'm starting by inking up completely the whole stencil. Now, just because I want to give it some extra special details, I'm using a very small brush and I'm blending a darker shade of color at the bottom of the letters, just to give it a look of an ombre effect. Now, I'm going to use these stencil dies that are alignment actually, and they help me align the next stencil in the set. So this is the second stencil. I don't want to use the whole thing. I want to use only on the inside, and I'm planning to use with this stencil a paste. So I don't want to make a mess on my stamp wheel. That's why I used that masking tape. So I'm going to leave that second stencil aside for now, and I'm moving on to the third stencil, and this gives me the black letters in between the letters that I did previously. So that's what I'm doing here with a very small blending brush. I'm adding my black ink, making sure that I transfer that wording nicely and correctly. It's really easy to align the sentiment since I do have that alignment guide on the top right corner, so I can peel off this one and move on to the next stencil. Again, I'm going to align it on the top corner. And again, remember, I could have omitted that masking tape. I just didn't want to make a mess on my sticky mat. Anyway, let's stick that down. And this time I'm using the paste. Now this is gorgeous paste. They come in various colors by Altenew. And it's so shiny. I am going with the gold one. By the way, just like always, you will find links to everything that I'm using down below in the description. And this is actually part of a video hop as we celebrate the June release by Altenew. So there are lots of giveaways to be won, but also you can find tons of inspiration using the new products along the hop. So make sure to read the description. You will find everything you need down below, as well as the next stop on the hop. Now I'm using my card base and I'm working directly on top with grass field. I am going to transfer there the lovely leaves all around, and then I'm going to use the other stencil. And remember, this comes all in one set. You do get all those stencils to put together the letters, the lovely leaves all around. So here I'm using a darker shade of green just to add all that detail. And you can see here how lovely it looks, and that word fits directly on top. So I do have lots of shine, I do have the colors that I like, and I can definitely use some sequins to embellish it and add even more shine on the project. So here is a finished look, and here are some close-up photos on the first card for today. And imagine all the different color combos that you can come up with. So let's move on to the second card, and probably my favorite from all 4 that I'm sharing today. This is a gorgeous die set. It gives you all the dies that you can put together to create those peaches along with the branch. I'm going to put together only 2 of those, but you can have the peach as a whole or as a half, and it even gives you the flowers of the peach tree as well. So I cut out everything from white cardstock, and again I'm using my stamp wheel to do my ink blending so that all those images don't move around. And I'm going to start doing my ink blending. Now, before that, if you noticed, I did place the peaches on top of that branch to kind of design how everything is going to come together on the finished card. So I know that I will not use those leaves. This is where on those tiny little branches where I'm going to stick the peaches. That's why I cut off those leaves. You can definitely use them for another composition. So now I'm just going to go ahead and do some ink blending. I'm using Firefly, as you can see here, which is my lighter color for the leaves. And then I'm going to add a darker shade just to bring them more to life. So here I'm going to bring in Shadow Creek, and this is the darker shade. Don't overthink too much about where you're supposed to add the darker shade. Just go for it. I promise you it's going to look lovely at the end, as long as you don't cover the whole leaf. Now I'm going to bring in an even darker shade, which is going to give even more dimension on the leaves. So again, this is from the same set. And you see I'm using the same blending brush for all the shades of green. I usually have one blending brush for the same color family, and I think that by doing that it really brings the leaves to life. Now you can always go back to the mid color and blend those two colors together, just like you would do with your alcohol markers if you like. I'm also adding a few splatters with the same colors of green so that it makes them look more imperfect, just like leaves are. Now you cut out the branch separately, and I did use brown ink to make sure that this is colored nicely, and then I'm going to stick it on top and put that branch together. Now you don't have to use this branch with the peaches. This is a very generic and lovely dye to use as it is. You can definitely combine it with your bird dyes and have your birds on top. You can even combine it with your flower dyes. So many different ways to use it. Now for the peaches, I'm only going to put together two of them for my design, and there are 3 dyes to put together those peaches. I'm going to use these 3 inks for each one of those pieces. Just use 3 different shades of orange and you are good to go. Also, keep your options open. You can definitely use different shades. Like for example, you can have your peaches looking pink. Why not? Just go for it. Now I am going to ink up in super quick mode. I wish I was that fast in crafting all those 3 pieces. And then it's time to put everything together. Now this is really easy to put together, just 3 pieces, one on top of the other, and you can see they fit perfectly, the first 2 top ones. Now one more, and you can definitely do it even more dimensional. If you want, you can definitely use foam squares in between. This is going to give you a whole new dimension of a peach. So again, the same thing for the other one. Just stick one on top of the other and they fit perfectly together. So you can see that highlight coming through that hole, and then this piece goes on top of the main base. Now just like I did for the leaves, I will repeat the same technique. I will use the orange color and do some splattering. Again, I don't want those to look so perfect. I like imperfections, just like the normal peaches. So let's put together the card. I'm using some foam square at the back of the leaves and at the back of the peaches. And I have a panel here where I did a little bit of inking, mainly at the center, so that it isn't bright white. And then I'm going to put my design on top. Now this panel is slightly smaller than the standard card, so when I stick it on top of my card base, you can see here I end up having a little bit of a border, giving it a lovely finishing touch. I'm also going to do some white splattering just because I love splatters, and it is really difficult for me to stay away from it. It's not for everyone, I know. You don't have to do this step. Now let's finish off the card by adding a sentiment, and I went with "For You." I think this is really versatile and I can use this card for a lot of different occasions. And you can definitely finish it off with some sequins. I'm using here the clear white ones, and I'm just going to stick them here and there to add a touch of sparkle. So here is the finished card. I'm absolutely in love with this one. I love the brightness of it and the lovely colors. And you can see here some close-up photos. And let's move on to the next card, which is absolutely stunning. I'm using the keyhole system die set, which is called Bellflower Bliss. I think this is a gorgeous die, and although it looks complicated with so many flowers, trust me, it's really easy to put together. So again, I cut out everything from white cardstock. I feel like it is easier for me to ink blend on top of white instead of just grabbing different colors of cardstock and running the dies again and again through my die cutting machine. But it really is a preference. So here I just used a couple of green colors for the main stem and the leaves. And now for the actual flowers, there are 3 different parts. And they are easy to put together since you can see the whole matches on top of the other. So 1, 2, and there is also a third die that you cut and stick on top. Only 3 parts for each flower, and I am going to use 2 colors for the main part and then yellow for the inside. So here you see I'm doing the same color for all the parts, and you can see how it looks here. Now I'm going to place that on top of black cardstock so you can see the holes. Now all the holes have a different shape, which means that it is super easy to match them with the matching flowers, and you know exactly which one is going to go where. So let's put together one flower so you can see how easy it is to put together. Match it with the yellow that has the same stem, the same shape, and then add the little cap on top. Now for the little top, I'm going to use foam squares. Now you see here I'm matching again the same hole, and they all have again different holes, different sizes, like a triangle or a key, different little designs, so you can easily know where everything goes. Now for the top I'm using foam squares so that I can give some dimension on my flowers, and I will repeat the same process for the rest of the flowers. Now for the background I have a little white panel here, and let's add some interest. For that I'm going to use again the relief paste with one of the new stencils, and I'm using here, oh look how gorgeous this color is. I like this color the most out of all the relief pastes because I think that it is very versatile. You can use it with pretty much anything. Plus it doesn't make the background look busy. It is going to give you to transfer the design of the stencil without making the background difficult to play with. So whatever you stick on top is going to still pop against the background. You just get the design and the shine without making it busy, is what I'm trying to say. So now let's stick the flower on top, and then all that's left to do is to add the sentiment. Again, for the sentiments I use the same dies that I used for the previous card. And I have to apologize at this stage because there are builders doing some landscaping out at the yard, and that's what you hear far at the background, but I couldn't find any other time to do the voiceover. I hope it's not distracting, and probably you cannot even hear it, hopefully. So anyway, that's the card, finished look, and here are some close-up photos where you can see the details better. And let's move on to the next card. Now this is the last card for today, and I'm starting with some stenciling. I go for a monochromatic look, so I'm starting with 2 shades of blue for that chevron design. I am going to give it kind of an ombre effect, so I'm starting with one color from top to up to the middle, and then from the bottom to the middle I'm going to use the other color and kind of blend them in the center. And let's peel it off so we can see the result, just stunning. Now I'm going to cut it down to be slightly smaller than the standard card so that I can layer it and pop it on top of my A2 card. And just to give it a more interesting edge, I'm using what's left on my ink blending tools, and I'm just doing a little bit of ink blending on the sides just to bring a little bit of color there. Now I am going to use a die to create a flower as my focal point. I will use one of those flowers here as well as some of the leaves. This is a lovely set because it gives you lots and lots of branches, and the flowers can be any flower really. You can just layer them one on top of the other to create dimensional ones. And again, this is one of the key system flowers, so they are really easy to put together. And just like I did with the rest of the dies today, I cut out everything from white cardstock and I'm doing a little bit of ink blending. Again, I'm going for a monochromatic look for this card, so I'm going to have the same blues for coloring the flower as I used for the background. Now you can mix blues, any blues would work, and you can even recreate the same idea, the same monochromatic card by using only shades of pink or only shades of red or shades of yellow. So just think of all monochromatic cards as a design choice that can be easily switched up for the colors, the favorite color of the recipient, for example. So now I have all my petals ready. Again, remember this is a keyhole system, so all you do is to match those shaped holes one on top of the other. And you can definitely shape this flower if you like. I'm going to keep it relatively flat, but you can go even more dimensional, and you can even add more layers of those petals to make it fluffier and more full. For the two centerpieces, I cut them out by using silver cardstock. I think that silver with white and blue goes beautifully together, but I can imagine that this card design would look beautiful in shades of pink with gold center as well. So I'm going to fluff up those centers and let's put together the card. Now for the sentiment, I'm putting together for you again from the same die set that I used for the rest of the cards. And this is silver cardstock on top of white, so it matches the center of my flower. I'm going for a very elegant look and feel here. I'm going to stick my panel by using foam squares at the back on top of my card base, and my card base is A2 standard card size. And then I will arrange everything on top, so I will use just one flower and a couple of leaf branches. For all of those pieces I do have foam squares at the back to add dimension, and notice that I left the leaves plain white just because I wanted to keep everything monochromatic. I didn't want to introduce any green here, or I could definitely use pale blue to color them. So here is the finished card. And here are some close-up photos on all the cards that I shared for today. Links to every product that I used can be found down below in the description. Don't forget this is part of a video hop, and you will find the next hop down below. Make sure to leave a comment for a chance to win the giveaways. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you had fun and got inspired. See you all next time.